Carlo.
Chat.
So we're going to be using your mission statement and your vision for the opening prayer. Have it? I was able to post some. So let's start with the opening prayer, and then I'll be giving a case study, and then Joey will be giving you the workshop for today. Okay. Are you ready with your vision and your mission?
Vision and mission.
Some are here already because they submitted. I think Carlo, you submitted your mission, right? And I think, okay, so let's start with the opening prayer.
Vision.
Opening prayer in the name of the Father, of the Son, the Holy
Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Almost. This is the prayer of Saint Francis that we're praying. O Most High, all-powerful, good Lord God, to you belong praise, glory, honor, and all blessings. We ask you to bless our mission statement and our project vision. Amy?
I am Amy Ford. I will use my idealism and curiosity by embracing creation, living simply, and writing to work toward a global vineyard. The improved reality I imagine as the outcome of people experiencing the Tree of Life Center offerings is a global vineyard of dialogue, interculturalism, authenticity, appreciation, balance, groundedness, enlivened relationships, trust, interconnectedness, and growth in a relationship with God, nature, others, and self. In short, a global vineyard with a root system of love, rooted in love.
I am Annette de Leon. I will use my spirituality and creativity by continuing to dialogue, practice, and inspire these values in my own family and community, working towards a truly sustainable, inclusive, and prosperous world. And my vision is for eco-relationship building through composting. Yeah, that's.
I, Carlo Garcia, fueled by my resilience and fortitude, allured by my passion for the earth and inspired by my faith in God, commits myself to work for a society where there is peace, justice, gender equality, and where people care for all creation.
You have your vision?
Competent, caring, and compassionate students and graduates who will help realize social transformation and ecological restoration.
Rosa?
I am Yunru Li. I use my autonomy and the capacity to listen by writing and networking with different people towards a world with reciprocal love and unity with one another and with all God's creation. My project vision is urban community planting as an icebreaker for reconnecting city people with God's love and creation.
Yours?
I am Yodi Esguerra, and I promise to commit and be patient to working towards positive changes and be like a mother protecting the young ones towards a loving and harmonious world. So my vision of the world is where there are compassionate and loving earthling living together in a harmonious and beautiful world.
Amen. In the name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you?
Okay.
Good. Were you able to navigate through
Okay.
Canvas effectively?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Did you notice that I asked you to upload your salundiwa in the assignment?
Yeah.
I did.
Uh,
It's
I
challenging.
did, but
Uh-huh. It's okay. The reason why I asked you to do that is so that we can engage with this new technology. Since it looks like it will be here to stay, we might as well learn how to navigate Canvas. There's so many features. I discover a new one every day. So that's a
I
challenge.
encountered a problem.
Sorry. Yes.
I encountered a problem. I wasn't able to upload my Salunjiwa image because the app says my quota has exceeded the limit.
Oh, really? That is
Maybe what is the file, Brother Carlo?
JPEG. JPEG.
JPEG. So
yeah.
JPEG is compressed. It should be able to upload.
Amy, what
So
did you
you
use?
need to compress that first.
Maybe. Amy, what did you use? JPEG?
So I ended up, I first scanned it and then emailed it to me. And then I opened it and took a screenshot. And then I cropped it. I saved the screenshot, and then I went to screenshot when it asked me where in the computer I wanted to, access the file for uploading. So I'm not sure if I guess that's a JPEG.
Well, it worked. It worked because I was able to. Um, I will try to ask the administrator of Canvas if there's an easier way to do it.
I
It's a
converted
PNG.
to PDF file.
Maybe.
Mine was a PNG file, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
PNG file.
Well, it's good for us to keep on learning how to navigate this new learning platform, right? So that's why I challenged you with uploading the image as well as just writing the text as we did in our previous classes. So that's just an ongoing challenge. It's not meant to give you any pressure whatsoever. Okay. So today we are going to have our last synchronous session until we do the project presentations in May. So after this, we will be having, as you know, from the syllabus, right? We will be having asynchronous sessions, and then we will be having mentoring, and then you will have your implementation of your project. And then we will have the presentation, which is going to be our next synchronous session towards the end of May. So what we're going to do today is module 2, right? Which is the action planning part. I'm going to start by presenting to you a case study of a priest who is a CIE graduate. And then you will see that in this case study, we will notice that there is something that's lacking that needs to be addressed. And so Joey's workshop will give us the tools to deal with these situations where there is a need for cultural change. Okay, I hope that it will help you. So Carlo, I was saying that I will be asking the administrator if there is an easy way to upload homeworks that are images. But meanwhile, no
Okay,
need
thank
to get
you.
pressured. I really just believe that it's a good opportunity for us to learn this new platform. You know, my daughter is doing her master's in Georgetown, and that's another Jesuit school, and she is using exactly the same platform that I'm using. So, you know, we might as well learn how to use this if it's a global platform, right? So let's try. Oh, hello, Arnie. You're there. Okay, so I always try to put the perspective that we're dealing with since this course engages the church, economics, and politics. So as Pope Francis reminded us, we need to be integrative, right? And economics is one of the dimensions that we need to deal with if we are going to walk caring, the talk of caring for our common home. And for today, I would like you to take a look at the project that was implemented by a CIE graduate from 2018 to 2019. Were you able to go through his case study?
No.
But just in case there were others who did not have the chance to go through it, I made some slides to make it easy for you to understand what he was trying to do. So, spark could lit. He wanted to begin a spark of conversion in his archdiocese, which is the Archdiocese of Cagayan de Oro City. That's in Mindanao. Okay, for those of you, for Rosa and for Amy, Mindanao was the first assignment of the Jesuits assigned to them by Prince Philip in the 1500s. Okay, after a while, they lost that assignment because they were too radical. But then in 1931, they put up the very first university in Mindanao, and that was Ateneo de Cagayan, which we also know as Xavier University. Okay, so this missionary group, the Society of Saint John Vianney, of which Father Jong is a part, is a seminary. And what is so interesting about them is that they have a very ecological oriented culture. And in fact, they have an MOA with Loyola School of Theology that they can share faculty because their faculty have become experts in ecology. Okay, so are you familiar with the BEC, the Basic Ecclesiastical Communities? Okay, so in his parish there are about 100 BECs with about 20 members each. That is the scope of his project. His parish is in Hingoog, somewhere near Cagayan de Oro City. It's a road trip. Okay, so after his completion of the project, there were concrete changes that were observed. Okay. Did you notice what it was? Those who read? Or it's here? Can you see what it is? It's so interesting. Very simple. What is it? Who would like to volunteer? What do you notice that got introduced because of his project? Very practical, very simple change.
The garbage disposal,
Yes, that's one. The garbage disposal.
tree planting,
Yes, tree planting. And what I find really interesting is that tree planting using seeds that are of the fruits that are offered at masses. So it started with something that is very natural and organic to the life of the church. It didn't need anything new. It's also because Hingoog is a very abundant city in terms of fruit harvest. So what I did was I rewrote for your case study the PowerPoint of Father Sabuga into a management framework. This management framework was taught at the Asian Institute of Management beginning in the early 2000s. It was authored by Professor Ed Morato, who is a poet. So he gave it a really interesting acronym. Okay, and you'll see later. Okay, so the basic vision is really awareness and mobilization, right? Very simple. He just wanted people to be aware of ecological conversion and to mobilize them to act on it. And the mission also was very simple, to ride along with the existing BEC program. And I also tried to classify what he wrote in his PowerPoint in terms of objectives. Who of you here are teachers? Teachers are experts in making objectives. What are the objectives are what we use every time we teach, no? And then I also tried to point out which were his key result areas and how these results could be measured as performance indicators. So basically the acronym for this is VMOCRA-P. That was the one given by the poet who imagined this framework. And Joey will be giving you a workshop on this. When I went to the Asian Institute of Management, it was Joey who gave me this lecture as a student. And so now he's going to be giving you the same lecture because you're all experts. So you're actually using this already. It's just that since we have a course, we have a program, it is good to have a common language for discussing the elements of our project. And this is a very comprehensive one. Okay, who of you here are familiar with the SWOT analysis? The right, strength, weakness, opportunities, threats. So look, these are the strengths of the community that Father Jong pointed out. That his archdiocese is very abundant in fruits and that they already have the basic ecclesial community. So in other words, he did not need to introduce anything new because most parishioners really donate fruit offerings. But he also pointed out to 3 weaknesses that were quite discouraging. The mindsets of the people were about industrialization. There's a lot of mining and logging and big scale plantations in his area. And there is a sense of hopelessness. A lot of his parishioners are indigenous peoples. Indigenous peoples belong, of course, you all know, right? They belong to the most economically challenged sectors of our society. And look, can you compare the opportunities versus the threats? What do you notice? It's like there's only one opportunity that he could identify, which is the monthly sessions. And look at all the threats against his project. So I actually validated this with him and he agreed that the way that I was able to create the framework around his work is accurate to what he observed. Okay, now let's take a look at the environmental analysis surrounding his work. So before Laudato Si was published, Father Jong's archdiocese was already active in sustainable agriculture. In fact, one of the things that I came across was a paper written in 2012 about the project of the Archdiocese for Agricultural Sustainability. And this is the network. See, can you see they have the UNDP, the United Nations, Food and Agricultural Organization as a basic platform. And then they have civil society, they have academe, and they have government, and they have church organizations. So what can you say about this reality? What can you say? Any volunteers? Even before Laudato Si was written by Pope Francis. Yes, Amy.
Just that there's cross-pollination among the different groups, inclusive diversity there.
Right. There's already engagement among the different groups, right? The diverse groups. Yes. Anybody else?
May I say something?
Carlo.
Uh, this, I believe, is an opportunity, no, that will help. I forgot his name, the proponent to implement his project. However, this is not consistent with the opportunity that he cited earlier. In my understanding, an opportunity and a threat are something outside of the organization, while strengths and weaknesses refers to the internal. So my observation is this. I mean, the different organizations that I see on screen are opportunities,
Yes.
stimulants that will help the proponent proceed with and be successful in the process.
Right. Right. He didn't identify it then at the time, but the research that I did made made me realize what a rich environment he had for implementing his project, right? Okay, thank you for that observation, Carlo. Yes, wasn't named. And then look at this. So Laudato Si was launched in May, right? And written in May, launched in June, and then by July, look what they had. They already had a poster making contest for Laudato Si. What does that tell you about the Archdiocese? It's very responsive, right? Very responsive to the call of Laudato Si. Within a month, they already mobilized. And then this one, several months after Laudato Si, they already had a march, which engaged government and civil society in Cagayan de Oro. And then in 2019, when Father Sabuga graduated, there were so many events happening. And this did not figure in his presentation, but I did some research to give us an idea of what was happening at the time. See, so can you see, this is an indigenous youth eco camp. And can you see the business, the economic, and the political sectors that collaborated for this eco camp? And it wasn't even a church initiative. This was an initiative of civil society. And it was funded by an international ecological group. Okay, and business, local businesses as well. And look at this one, very political, right? So this was an event, and what it was a training needs analysis for indigenous groups in Hingoog City. And this is Father Jong's parish. So the church itself had initiatives already to celebrate the indigenous groups with their Indigenous People Sunday, which coincides with the UN celebration, United Nations International Celebration of IP Day. And this one is interesting. This is a government initiative that was synergized with international government, and it's for capacity building. So sustainable agriculture. Okay, So what can you say about that kind of an environment?
Progressive.
Very progressive in terms of Laudato Si. Okay. Carlo, I can see you nodding.
A lot are involved. However, there
Mhm.
is a need to converge. Though it's an opportunity, the possible threat could be without an effort to converge all these efforts, they might go into different directions in the end.
That's a good point, no? I really noticed that when I read the government press release about it. It could be used for other purposes, especially um, those that are not going to be in the long run for the advantage of the people who need it the most. Yeah, they're not really all convergent. Okay. Anyone else?
Question, ma'am.
And then
What is the goal of the project basically? Like the clear objective
his
to
basic
achieve.
objective
Yeah,
was to create a spark so that
a
people,
spark.
because spark could lit, that's the name of his project, to create
Yeah.
a spark through the basic
Okay.
ecclesial community for
Okay.
awareness about Laudato Si and to move people to action. It was a
Okay.
very, very simple vision. He just wanted
Yeah.
action to happen. And then
Yes.
and then what happened there was the two things: garbage disposal and the seeds, no?
Yeah. Planting, seed plant,
Right.
tree
But
planting.
but if you notice, considering that it's a church initiative,
Mhm.
it's very, very secular. Those actions are very secular in nature, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Planting and garbage disposal. What I really found interesting when I was reading through his project, it wasn't mentioned, but when I interviewed him, this is what he revealed. Look at the statement of the problem that I drafted in the case study and that I showed him. Does anybody want to read, to volunteer to read it for us? Brother Arnie, can we invite you to read it? We haven't heard your voice yet. Hmm?
A statement of the problem. Despite the positive environmental analysis, given the institutional thrust of the Archdiocese of Cagayan de Oro, through promulgate Laudato Si through various means, the poster making contest, the concert, the prayer march, training in organic farming, collaboratively with the sectors of government, business, and civil society, as well as the initiatives of government and civil society to organize capacity building of indigenous groups for human rights, leadership, and organic farming in collaboration with the international funding, community, and business. The difficulty of convincing his fellow priests themselves to integrate Laudato Si's ecological themes through the BECs rendered Father Saboga's next step to be to continue convincing his fellow priests.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Arnie. Interesting, di ba?
Yes.
I was trying to figure out.
Right?
I, yeah, Ma'am Pauline, that's the reason. I was trying to figure out what are we figuring out
There you
from the case study.
Like
Yeah.
it's such a perfect case already for a
Yeah.
project. But how
Yeah.
come? So what happened, right? And
Mhm.
this problem was not even one of his foreseen threats, correct? And it was not even one of his foreseen weaknesses. So as Carlo mentioned earlier, he did not even see this or recognize or even notice that this could be a problem as an internal weakness or as an external threat, right? So why? What happened? What do you think?
He's alone practically trying to do this.
What alone, except for the Archbishop,
Actually,
because Archbishop Tony has always been an advocate of sustainable agriculture and environment. In fact, as a priest, he started sustainable agriculture in Bukidnon in the 1990s. And I only found that out when I was researching this. So I actually emailed him a paper that somebody had written about this initiative, and he didn't even know it was written about in graduate school. Okay. So yeah. So what was the problem?
Pauline?
Yes, y'all.
Yeah, just to comment also, because I know Father John and I have been in contact also with their archdiocese. I think also in the SWOT perspective, the BEC is not part of the opportunity. It is actually supposedly a strength. And if the dynamics of the BEC, where the priests, of course, are among the most decisive, it can be both a risk and I mean a strength and a weakness, because it's an internal organization. So it's supposedly strength and weakness, but it can really happen that because by structure of the church, they the priests have an autonomy and also independence in carrying out projects in their parishes. So if you have a project like that, it means that uh, process of consultation. The process of consultation should be done before a project is developed, and a proposal can be made. I think this happens a lot within the dynamic of the church. In fact, even the bishop sometimes cannot really push for something that this priest would not like to. They will just skip it. They will say yes, but in actuality, in the ground, it will never happen.
That's so true, no? Because there are so many dimensions
Yeah.
involved, even just in this sector, which is the church, right? So, what happened? And I was able to research and find out the root, one of the hypotheses about the root cause of this problem that makes it necessary for Father Jong's next step to be to continue convincing my fellow priests, right? So what is it? I found it in an article in Mindanao News. Mindanao News is a very unique publication because it is founded. Yes, you're nodding, Arnie. You're familiar. Can you tell me what you know about Mindanao News?
I just read what Father Raluto have said about the Laudato Si problem in Mindanao. In this, I think in this article he mentioned that the problem is that some of the older priests are really stuck on the old theology in responding ecological issues. That's why it is really hard for them to really adapt on the new ways of handling ecological issues. For example, what they have done in Cagayan de Oro. So kaya some of their priests are really not supportive of the new ways of addressing ecological issues
Right,
somehow.
exactly. The mindset, right? So the mindset. And according to Father Ray, there is an explanation that will help us to understand the existing mindset and what is it. So he gives us more. Can you see? Somebody please mute there.
Oo, pero binuksan
Okay.
lang.
Wait, hold on.
Wait,
I'm gonna ask my daughter to mute.
Ha?
Sorry. This is really
din eh. Parang hangin lang ang...
girl. She's just gonna mute.
Buksan mo nga, buksan mo nga.
I think it's Ma'am Edna's
Okay. So there. It's okay. Well, it's quiet now. Okay. Okay, it's quiet now. Thank you, Rika. Where? Yeah. There. Okay. All right. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rika. Okay, so wait. We go back. It moved forward. There. So Father Ray shows us 4. This really reminded me of ethics of ecology, anthropomorphic. The thinking is still very much anthropocentric. I have a really hard time with that word, right? And it's because of their training. So according to Father Ray, if you were trained in the 1990s, which makes you about our age, then you still don't have that new mindset. And we could see those shifting mindsets in ethics of ecology, right? Okay, so in the traditional theology, there's really hardly any place for ecology. And the value of the earth has not really been a subject for the last 500 years, meaning from the time of the Spaniards until recently. And then the exchange between theology and ecology only happened in 1980. That was way after Vatican II, right? And therefore, a paradigm shift is very necessary. Do you agree? So it is not evident in a SWOT analysis because we needed to dig deeper inside in order to understand what the problem was that was disrupting the implementation of a seemingly perfect project in a seemingly ready environment with a seemingly perfect social network. Do you all agree with that? Everything was ripe in the archdiocese. Okay, so now, again, we go into reflection. This reflection is guided by the book of Father Johnny Go and Professor Atienza. So may I ask you to reflect and then we will have a round of sharing. So what about you? What about your parish? Has Laudato Si been integrated? And has it not? And what manifestations of the integration of Laudato Si have you noticed? Or what absence of Laudato Si have you noticed? Okay, please make your salundiwa to catch your thoughts so that later we can share it with one round of sharing. Oops. So 2 very simple questions. And what we really need are just top of mind answers, okay? No need to Google. Just top of mind what you're seeing and what you are experiencing. And when you're ready, please let me know so we can start sharing.
Pauline.
Yes. Ready? Y'all?
Can I share
Wonderful.
something? Can I
Please.
ask also something?
Yes, yes, please.
Yes. Because actually, if I have to look at how Laudato Si is being integrated within the society, or at least within the church, from my perspective in our parish, because I'm not very much involved in our parish, sometimes I go and uh, hear mass from other churches also. Uh, but in instances where I am able to attend mass in our parish, uh, of course, the theology is really uh, quite conservative still. And but it depends on the parish priest. No, sometimes there are a parish priest who are very progressive also, like because sometimes Franciscans come to our parish also. But in general, for me, because I work in an NGO, which is into environmental advocacy, and I'm also part of the Global Catholic Climate Movement. Um, in general, there is a growing effort to really mainstream Laudato Si. In fact, CBC Pinasa right now have already launched a national program for the whole church, no, the Laudato Si program. So it is only now that a program has been launched so that the parishes, the church down to the ground can be, must embrace, no, can embrace this new awareness and this new perspective about ecology or our environment.
Well,
Also, in many of our meetings with Global Catholic Climate Movement, so it's an international movement. Uh, it's a little bit sad, but also happy to note that of all the countries, no, of the countries in the world, Philippines, according to them, is the most responsive. Most responsive in terms of Laudato Si
okay.
compared to other to other countries. That's what
Right.
they are saying. But somehow I see it's still a drop in the bucket, our effort here in the Philippines. So how much more I want to imagine in other countries in
Right.
relation to Laudato Si. So that's how I see it.
Maybe because we Filipinos still have a very strong indigenous culture. So we're still very much attuned
Yeah.
to the earth. But all of these news kasi we can read about, right? But the reason I'm asking this question is because I want to ask you what you see. What do you see in your parish? You know, like now we are seeing community pantries all over with makeshift signs.
Mm.
Even if it's probably not something that really got inspired by Laudato Si, it is nevertheless aligned with that vision of caring for our brothers and sisters, right?
Community gardens also
There you
is
go.
there.
So
It's
you
proliferating.
see community gardens. Thank you, y'all. So where have you seen this community garden?
In our yard, because we have decided to do that also. So here in at home, we have started a community, in a way, a garden, and then there are neighbors also. So we exchange plants, so that we get some of their plants, and we also give some to them also.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
some are edible, like malunggay. Malunggay is very important because it has many vitamins and minerals according. So
Yes.
that's what we do now.
Thank you. There. So community gardens that you started and that has taken on, no? Right. And malunggay, I had to drink that soup every day throughout my childhood. It was a household rule.
Yeah.
Who else would like to share? What do you see? I want to know what you see. What do you see around you?
Hello.
Yes,
I
yes.
see nothing happens.
Yes. So you haven't
according
that
according to Yoli, really, it's true. It's so different here. For
okay.
example,
Yes.
after Laudato Si is published, we need long time to translate into Chinese,
Oh, for
and then
logistics issue.
and then also the I think more congregations like religious groups, they are doing that then in the parish, and uh, and my experience last time was I call our AMRSP, the JPIC responsible person, who is also our the Mercedarian sister. And then her response, I said, oh, there's no Chinese, because the GCCM, because I also joined them. So the GCCM also want to connect with Chinese speaking countries so that we can have translation and, but the response from the AMRSP here in Taiwan was that, oh, we have been focusing on Laudato Si for several years, and now we changed the focus. And so I was truly disappointed because seemingly for them, it's a document, and then now we finish reading this, and then we change another.
On to the next. Okay.
Yes,
Wow, really? That okay.
but I
Okay.
know congregations, some movements they are doing, but in the parish, really
Nothing yet. Not
nothing.
yet, not yet a part of culture. It's not yet part of the worldview, of the mindset, of the value.
Yeah, because also it's the understanding of
Not
this, the catechesis and the nature. There's no integration.
okay.
The-
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Ron.
you.
Who
Welcome.
else would like to share? What do you see or what do you not see? Yes,
May I?
Brother Arnie. Yes.
Okay.
Ah,
Carlo. Sorry.
You first, Brother Arnie first.
Okay, alphabetically. Okay.
just short. As a religious, no, as what Yunju have said, that we are not just Paris-based really in promoting Laudato Si, but we are a community-based. So when I was in Mindanao, I can really see how our community is is responding to Laudato Si. So I was signed in our GPIC for 3 months when I was in Mindanao. So we have this because our community is near in the beach. We have this artificial coral planting. So because in that area, many are doing illegal fishing. So to really revive fishing industries in that part, we have planted additional artificial coral planting. So it takes time really because that the coral can grow for years. So it really takes time, but you see the people how they are responding to that. And also we have this coastal cleanup and proper waste disposal as what we are trying to promote in different communities where the Passionist, our congregation is located. And because we have Blaans and Tibolis indigenous people in that area also, they are trying to do as seminars like having this Laudato Si for them. So we have mangrove planting, so mahogany and naga planting from those areas na somehow experience lagging also. So that's how for us religious, that's how we respond the needs of
So that is
equality. Thank you.
interesting, no, Brother Arnie, that you would mention that because Pope Francis actually cites our indigenous brothers and sisters as the example, but because they have been dispossessed or displaced by development, then now they also have to go back, no, to having to undergo new trainings in their new environment, because when the land is lost, the culture will also disappear.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. Okay, yes, Carlo.
Uh, if there is any program or project related to Laudato Si in our parish, it's not explicit, it's not pronounced. Um, but our parish has been very active in programs and projects that benefit the poor. And in fact, the parish, our parish, has been very uh, uh, responsive even to political issues. I remember this parish of ours provided transportation for a big mobilization in Luneta many years back. So with regard to environment, it's not pronounced, but with regard to justice and solidarity with the poor, it's very much expressed or pronounced. The church in general, the church in general, still lacks understanding and or appreciation of integral ecology. That our ecological problems should be seen and analyzed in an integral way, and that responses or solutions should also be integral. In fact, there's no dichotomy between working for the poor or working for justice and working for ecology. But that
Right.
depends much on the paradigm. Again, it's a paradigm that depends on the holistic or integrated framework
Right.
of the parish priest or probably of the parish council.
That's true. That word, which Pope Francis always uses, no, in Laudato Si, that everything has to be integral. Lahat
Yeah,
ng bagay ay magkaugnay.
that's right. That's right.
Everything is interrelated. Okay, yes. Thank you, Carlo. Anyone else? There's another question. So I'll go on to the next question. Hello, Well. How nice to see you. Okay. So, what of yourself, your expertise and enthusiasm, what one step would you like to do? And would this be connected to your project or not? But just briefly, so that we can go on to the next part of our session, which is the management hat lecturette. So, what expertise and enthusiasm would you like to share about Laudato Si to your parish? These are two keywords that are highlighted in that book on Ignatian spirituality in the classroom: expertise, enthusiasm. Is it a top of mind question or does this need a lot of thought? Carlo.
Uh, uh, I can share my expertise in environmental education,
Mhm.
and I can share my enthusiasm about eco spirituality, in
Mm,
particular on the new cosmology. For your information,
well,
Yoli and I are
I
classmates
don't know
right
that.
now in a course called the New Cosmology. So for me, it's something new, but I feel so excited about it. So that's why I'm enthusiastic about sharing what I am learning right now to other people. Thanks.
Wow, what course is this? Cosmology. Is that in
New-
LST?
The New Cosmology.
Yeah. What
It's a
what
US-based course where Yoli and I are currently enrolled. It's about
wow.
the framework. It's about the framework on the transition from our era where there is ecological degradation to a new era called ecological era, where there is a sort of perfect ecology. But of course, we're still too far from that.
Wow. Maybe when you're done with the course, you can teach that in LSP also.
Naku, no way.
CIT. No, like this course, very down to earth course. Okay. Thank you, Carlo, for sharing that.
Welcome. Thank you.
Cosmology, new cosm. I'm gonna Google that later.
Yeah.
So
Brother Carlo, where is it offered, this course?
It's being offered by Deep Time Network. So these are descendants of Taylor Deschardin, Thomas
I
Carey,
see.
Ilya Delio.
Okay.
So
The Jesuit.
Oh, so it's a US course, US
Yes, it is.
university.
yes,
Okay.
it's a
Oh.
12-week course.
Wow, I've heard of all the people you've mentioned, just heard of them.
Yeah, the Jesuit philosophers, right?
Yeah.
Thinkers
One
and
more
economists.
one more last volunteer before we move on to your session on wearing the management hat and looking at the different dimensions, because as you could see, with the case study, it's really not just at face value what the strengths, what the weaknesses, what the opportunities and threats are, right? Something deeper when you are really engaging with the need for conversion and cultural evolution. Okay, so who else? Enthusiasm and expertise. But if that's okay na, we can move on and explore your management hats with Joey Ayala. Joey, are you there na? Yeah. So as I said, Joey was my lecturer in this management framework. And we were able to make use of this management framework throughout our partnership with the United Nations Development Program from 2007 until 2018. So we'd like to share it with you because it makes it easy to communicate about reality when we use this framework. In the same way that we were able to talk about Father Jong's case study by presenting it in this way. But Joey will be taking you deeper into this framework and looking into the different dimensions that probably would really enrich project implementation, especially when the issues are very deep. Okay, so now I'd like to call on Joey. Are you there? I'll call him on the phone. Hold on. Did you fall asleep, Joey? Where are you? Okay, let's see. Oh no, baka it's brownout also in his house. Ah no, but he's there. No. I had to move to our building because brownout in the house. I had to run before classes started. Okay, hold on. So just the other day, Joey gave this workshop, this same workshop that he's gonna share with you. Ah, there he is. I thought you fell asleep. Okay.
No.
So
Yeah.
Joe shared this
Sorry,
with
sorry to keep you
young
waiting.
kabataan kids,
Huh?
leaders, right? So I'm just
Yeah.
introducing you now.
Okay, good.
And so this is the title of the workshop, Kung Kaya Mong Isipin, Kaya Mong Gawin, which is the song that Joey sang when he introduced the last workshop. Okay.
Oh, Okay, game.
Okay, game.
Hello. Hiningang dagat. This is the first thing I always share in any workshop.
Joey, for Amy and Rosa, hiningang dagat.
Yeah. Hininga means breath, and dagat is the ocean. So ocean breath. Ocean breath. I learned this from pranayama exercises, and the proper name is ujjayi. Do you know that word, Annette? Ujjayi.
I'm, I'm not familiar with Tagalog either.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah,
Ujjayi
sorry.
breath. It's like the breath of victory, something like that. No? And I always share this because it's the easiest way that I have found to become aware of your awareness. It's the easiest I've found to clarify your perceptions. It's the easiest way I have found to keep your foot out of your mouth. Because we think we think according to some neuropsychologists, we think like 20 to 30,000 thoughts a day. And 80 to 90% of those thoughts are always negative. Now that has an evolutionary cause. We are descendants, if you consider evolution as an almost fact, we are descendants of organisms who would not have survived if they did not notice the negative. Okay? So our normal negative thinking is actually pro survival. But because the world has changed so much since those times of dinosaurs and tigers and lions that might eat you, we actually no longer need those instincts that make us tense up, make us release biochemicals of fear and anger in our body. So when we feel fear or anger or tension and stress, those are triggers to remember to breathe like the ocean. And how does one breathe like the ocean? It comes with a little sound. So I will put the mic close to my nose. This is all through the nose. Okay. Yeah. So when you inhale, you're inhaling energy. And when you're exhaling, you're relaxing. The sound comes from a mild constriction of the muscles behind your nose, your sinus cavity. You can control that. So you try it. You try to make a whistling sound through your nose when you inhale. Okay, try.
We have to try.
Yeah. Can you hear yourself? Yeah, that's it. And then on the exhale. So it's a combination of almost 50% snoring and 50% blowing your nose. Snoring on the way in, blowing on the way out. So the objective is to control the amount of air coming in and coming out. So scientifically, what happens is the balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide in your lungs is changing. You're actually, so this is good for asthma, this is good for high blood pressure, it's good for hypertension, it's good for anything that bothers you. It's good for insomnia, particularly if you lie down at night. Try to count 10 of these breaths, and you probably won't reach 10. You'll be asleep very instantly. So this is a way to bring your nervous system to a reset. Okay, there are many exercise methods that use this without telling you. The Tai Chi, it's coordinated. Yes, someone's raising her hand. The Buddhist palm. Yes, Amy.
Hi. No, I just wanted to clarify, when you're exhaling, is it a passive thing or are you actively, because you said relaxation, but then like blowing your nose. So are you actually kind of trying to force air out or just?
No, you're just constricting the passage, but your lungs and your diaphragm are not exerting any effort. You're just allowing the breath to escape.
Okay.
You're just constricting the passage. That's where the sound
Gotcha.
comes from, the passage. The diaphragm and the lungs are just relaxed.
Okay.
But the more you practice, you'll feel your lungs and your diaphragm guiding you. You want to go deeper, you want to force it a little, you can play with it. There are also many styles where you can count 4 breaths, 4 counts in, hold for 4 counts, exhale for 6 counts, and hold the vacuum for 2 counts. But that's a different has a different biochemical effect on your mind. So let's just stick with the basic, excuse me, the basic in out. Shall we do 3 at your own pace? 3 ocean breaths. Inhale energy. Exhale. Inhale energy. Nice, no? You just want to do that for the whole class.
Okay.
Okay. I want to share this word with you, kaganapan. Kaganapan. The root word is ganap in the middle. So in Filipino, when you want to create a concrete version of a word, you add the ka and the an. So ganap means it's real, and kaganapan is reality. So this is a way of looking at reality, which is very complex, but this is a way to simplify that complexity. First, you divide it into 2, loob and labas. The inside, loob, and the outside, labas. So there are things on the inside, and there are things on the outside. You can add a dotted line in the center of those generalities. Can you press the next slide, Pauline?
Okay.
Yeah, dotted line. It's dotted because they actually interpenetrate, but we are just adding the lines for simplicity and analysis. You can separate them horizontally and vertically, giving you quadrants. Okay, the familiar quadrants. Okay, next. The upper quadrants are dedicated to the individual things, and the lower quadrants are dedicated to the collective things. Upper right quadrant, you can use the shortcut UR, upper right, UR. That's where the eye of science is focused on the itness of things. If you're looking at people, the itness is their behavior, expression of the face. You can see the behavior. On the upper left, you have the individual's internality. That's where you find identity, self, I, ako, my feelings, my thoughts. What do I find beautiful? What do I find ugly? Consciousness, the individual inside. That's the subjective sphere. That's where you find me. So it's called subjective. Now below that, the lower left or LL quadrant, that's where you have the internal insides of people. the internal insides. This is where you find culture. This is where you find what people agree on in terms of ideas, in terms of what's valuable, in terms of what's beautiful, what's useful. So this is the we, tayo. How do you say this? First person plural. First person plural. Very often when we confuse the I and the we, that's where the troubles start. Like if you have a husband, for example, or a wife, and then you believe that your we space is exactly what you feel. So you're assuming now that you feel and your spouse feels the same way. And then you have a conflict because that's not true. What you feel is not necessarily what everybody else is feeling. Oh, we'll go back to that in a little bit. On the right lower RL quadrant, that's where you have systems of things, systems of objective realities. So you have electronic system, communication system, monetary system. Now this is quite closely linked to the lower left because, for example, money, it can be argued that money is not real. Currency is real. Currency is an objective object, but money itself depends on the agreement of people to agree that money is valuable. So an element of the inside, collective inside, informs the collective outside and makes those objects, like paper and the coin, makes it valuable. And now that is being challenged. Today, it's being challenged. It began with ATM machines and credit cards. You can spend what you haven't earned yet, right? And people are actually buying and selling debt. That's what leads to many economic collapses. People buying and selling debt. Debt has become a product. And now, monetary system is being challenged by Bitcoin, the virtual currency. It used to be illegal to create your own money, but now it cannot be controlled. So technology, the system of technology is having an extreme impact on all these four quadrants, but we are not yet quite aware how deep those impacts go. Di pa tayo ganun, we haven't really digested all this change. No?
Can I
So
ask?
there's one more. Yeah.
Can I ask them something? Based on this is so closely related to the case study, diba, Joey? We were talking about it kanina. So if you were gonna go back to our case study, where is Laudato Si here, and where is the hesitance of the priest to engage with it in their BEC groups, in their basic ecclesiastic communities? Where would that be? Because they didn't study it in school.
I think there's one more slide, Pauline. The lower right. One more.
There.
Yeah, the
Okay.
interobjective.
So where is
Are you asking me or are you asking the class?
I'm asking all of you. Where is Laudato Si? Because that was the main issue, right, of the case study, which is what makes this so relevant.
Ako muna. Laudato Si as a document is where? It is on the upper right quadrant. Okay, it is a physical document. It is an object. The question is, was it disseminated through the physical systems to get into the culture? Have they actually read it? So is the upper left satisfied with the information it has received? How was it received? Was it handed down by the bishop? Was it emailed to them by a secretary who doesn't know who they are? Was it given importance? We don't know. We're just assuming that because it's a papal letter, it's important, but that's not necessarily so if you consider all the quadrants. Was a proper system used to disseminate the importance of the document? Or was it just passed on with 30 other whatever? I don't know how it works with the church. But those are the questions that arise when I look at the problem and the framework. In terms of the subjective I of the priest communicating to the collective we. We don't know how he communicated to the community.
Okay,
Huh?
there you go. So I just
Yeah, and there's
point that out because we
yeah,
are trying to change culture
uh,
into one that is about caring for our common home from one that was quite indifferent to many, many things that would put so much threat into
mm.
our environment there. Okay, next.
So I guess if I were to investigate the case study, I would ask those questions. Like, give me a copy of all the communications. I'd be like a detective. That's how detectives do it. Let's start with the evidence and trace backwards into the internal motivations and responses to motivations.
Okay.
Because then you're doing it quite scientifically and logically. Okay, what you just saw, the framework, it's a map of reality, an integral map. That's the slogan of the integral theory community. There is a community, integral theory community. If you Google it and join it, blow your mind. Make room for everything. That's an integral map. I just simplified it for easy dissemination and digestion. Yeah. The author of integral theory is Ken Wilber, Kenwilber. And the Pope probably read his books. Probably. He's got like 19, 20, 30 books. Okay, let's do 3. This is one of the functions of Hiningang Dagat is to help us reset after a lot of input. It will help us make space for more. So 3 breaths, please. Yeah. Now let's hello. I had a drink of water. Let's look at your project in the context of the map and superimposing the map with what Pauline mentioned a while ago as part of the Asian Institute of Management's lessons, the democracy, vision, mission, objectives. Okay, so here's an, an, an empty version of the integral map. So as we go along, do your, you can do your mind maps or salundiwas of whatever topics we will be going through. Vision, mission, objective. We're going through vision, mission, objective, key result areas, production, performance indicators, strategy, anyway, it's a lot.
Strategy,
So
activities,
I
tasks.
suggest you take out a sheet for each and just make broad notes.
So you
It's
already
very,
have your visions, right? What
yeah,
is
they have a good,
inside? What is outside? What is
yeah.
individual? What is collective?
When you overlay your vision, you have an idea. You might see things that you did not see or did not consider. Like a lot of people forget that there is a physical effect or physical behavior, even if you're doing internal work. For example, your vision is to, I don't know, a strong Catholic church in the Philippines. There is a physicality to that. How many people go to church? How many new churches have been erected? You can find a physicality corresponding to an internality, and also the other way around. If you want to make people feel good, give them clean public comfort rooms. Then they start to value their own hygiene more. So there is a correspondence between the in and an out. And the creative spark can happen in either, I believe. There's a God of the inside and there's a God of the outside.
And both. God
Yeah.
inside and outside. Okay. Does
Something
anybody
like that.
share how you have diagrammed your vision? The existing one? We can just have one example.
Yeah, so we're going through layers. We're going through layers. And we're starting at the end because a vision, can you do the next slide again?
Okay, hold on.
A vision is where you want to end up. It's the title of your adventure. And the reason it's good to have a vision statement that's exciting is because emotion is the fuel of action. You just have to direct it. Without a direction, emotion is easily manipulated by other people. So if you're hungry and you're angry, it's easy to put you, I don't know, in a rally. It's easy to put you in the army. It's easy to recruit you for a rebel force. It's easy to manipulate people whose emotions have no vision driving them. So it's really so important to have. We cannot assume that people are born with vision. That's not, you cannot assume that. It is a higher order thinking that you have to work for. You have to learn, you have to study, you have to construct. We have to evolve this sort of thing. Otherwise, vision is instinct. The next layer of thought is mission. So if you're thinking in terms of a movie, my vision is this movie or this, say, for example, to make it very easy, quarantine body, sexy 2022. That's my vision statement. I want to have a sexy body during the quarantine. I will use the quarantine. By 2022, I'll be the sexiest old man in the public arena. My mission would be, what is my role to achieve the vision? So a mission is a role to achieve the vision. So you have your vision. What is your role in achieving the vision? Are you a manager?
Yeah, so go
Are
back
you,
to your mission.
yeah, are you a secretariat for the many organizations? Are you an organizer? Are you try to define your role? It could be a totally unusual thing, like I will be the ethics officer of the local government unit, which I think is necessary because POA is stained too much with, I don't know, BIR. No, these will work as external, but there has to be an ethics officer. Used to be played by the priest or the magic, what do they call it in the army? The priest who's in the army.
By military vicar,
The vicar, or yeah, usually, but
Chaplain.
the chaplain.
chaplain, yeah. Because the problem with religious titles is they're too branded. It's difficult to act in a generic or a ecumenical fashion, especially if you're working with people who don't necessarily believe in miracles, you know. And the interesting thing about using an integral framework is eventually you'll learn that you don't have any enemies. You just have to learn to get along with people who don't think like you, who don't act like you. But they're not your enemies. They're part of the world. Your mission is your role. So it's usually an action thing to create. Yeah. And the third layer, objectives. If you'll notice, your objectives also have 4 quadrants, have 4 areas of consideration. And normally, here's where you start to not think of something. You forgot that your project might have an effect on many people. You're just thinking of your own paper and you want to think of your PhD, so you submit the paper. So somebody reads the paper, what effect is that going to have? Especially if that person is also a social influencer, you know? So you have to make room for everything. That's a nice thing about this framework. It's just so open and you can interpret it according to your needs. No? It's a bit like feng shui. It's just a framework. So sometimes your project will have unintended effects. It's good if they're positive. If they're negative, it's usually because you forgot to think of a certain quadrant. So it gets out of control. Oops. Like what happened to the project of the priest. Maybe he was not considering how his project would be accepted by the group. Maybe he felt justified in having Laudato Si as the foundation of his project. But translating that good intention into something that was more palatable or acceptable to others, we don't know, but maybe that's where the weakness lay. So it'd be interesting to see how he actually presented the idea. Okay, next, key result areas. A key result area is simply where do you look to know that you have succeeded? Waistline. I can fit into my old clothes? Yeah, key result area. Where do you see success? What areas do you see success? Your savings account, your love life. I'm pregnant again! Yay!
Wait,
And after that, a performance indicator is simply when you look at the key result area, what do you want to count? And how many is your target in order to say that you have succeeded? So key result area, where do you look? Performance indicator, what do you count? And now, if it is uncountable, like a feeling, you can still make arbitrary units. On a scale of 1 to 10, I feel happy. So that's an internal quantity. I'm an 8. You can use that. You create your units. Okay. Let's breathe.
I actually love this part.
Imagine your breath cooling, your brain cooling down. I get excited, so I go faster and faster, and I start to speak louder and louder, and I don't realize I'm shouting. So I'm breathing and like tones me down. Okay, I'm back to 5. Okay, I think I was going a full 10.
Oh, okay.
Is my voice okay this stuff?
Yes,
Yeah, that was shouting, right?
perfect.
Sorry.
Perfectly modulated.
Okay, the moderate, tone down. Strategy. This is a confusing word. In Filipino, it's easy. Diskarte. How do you act? How do you move? Are you going to be aggressive? Are you going to look for allies first? Are you not going to act so you can study a bit more on this area? Are you going to be conservative and act just a little and see how people react? Those are the many shades, and you can have finer shades of that in terms of strategy. How do you derive strategy? Okay, you're already familiar with SWOT, no? Strength, weakness, opportunities, threats. That's the basic. That's the basic. What I find is always forgotten is what is interesting. What okay on the inside, what are your weaknesses and your strengths, and what do you find interesting or unique or fascinating about your nature, the nature of your company, the nature of your NGO, the nature of yourself, the nature of your friends. What is it that is interesting, unique, fascinating? What are you weak at? What are you good at? What do you already have? What are you thankful for? What do you regret? You will find all these questions you will find will give you a pretty good picture of what you might do in order to become stronger from the perspective of inside. Know thyself. Know thyself. Basically, that's what it is. Know thyself.
I really like what you mentioned about what is interesting, because that's really a gap,
Yeah.
no? It
Yeah. It leads the way, actually. And very often in development work, one thing I notice is people forget that they have to make themselves happy.
right.
And so they burn out because they're not getting back in terms of psychic energy. They're not getting back from what they're doing. That means they're missing out on something very important. Burn out, or start using the money in some other way, and then you start getting into trouble. Then you abandon the project, and then the community collapses. It's a domino, a domino thing because you're no longer there. No more funds. Okay, close.
Breathe.
Let's breathe. Cool down the mind. Even in live workshops, Pauline is always my control because I just go, I go on and on and on.
No, that's not true. I just
I miss talking to people, especially people who can't leave the conversation. I drink water. Nakasabit yung tubig ko sa kita mo. Want to see?
can
It's
I
my water. Yeah, I hang it on the wall so it doesn't take
that's
up any.
cool.
It doesn't. It doesn't take up any desk space.
That's
And it
so
reminds me to stand up because I can't drink unless I stand up.
ah okay. Right. We should stand up. Do you guys want to stand up?
Yeah, you have to be integrative about it.
Tired? There.
You have to
Yeah.
integrate your body.
I was about to interrupt that I need a break.
Yeah, okay, Pauline, we
You
need a
want
break.
to, okay.
5-minute break.
I'll
Okay.
show you. I'll
Minute
show you my extreme break. So those are hanging bars, and I can.
Oh my God.
Oh, your muscles, Joey. Show it. Okay, we can do 5-minute break if you like.
Yeah, 5 minutes. Yeah.
That's how I integrate.
We can go on and on.
What a meeting.
What?
Yeah, I pulled myself up in the middle.
You did?
What are we doing? Are we waiting or just continue?
5-minute break. But
Everybody's going to the CR. Yeah. Are we doing okay time-wise?
yes, we're doing perfect.
My
Time.
pace is okay, not too fast, not too slow.
Yeah.
You just shut me up naman pag ganun.
No, but it's good. I wore a watch.
Yeah, I have a clock in front of me, but I don't look at it.
I know, right? Yeah, sometimes
I
it's
forget.
relaxing. Yeah.
I'm having too much fun talking to people.
I really love that, the SWAT-y. We should change it. We should make it na SWAT-y. Interesting.
The what?
SWAT. The SWAT
Swati?
with the eye.
Yeah.
Really missing that one. It's the one that
Yeah.
cooks.
When I learned about that, it was sometimes when people brainstorm, they go positive, negative. So what?
So then what?
Plus, minus, exclamation point, question mark.
Oh.
The first time I used that in practice was, I think, with Gina and Eugene. Remember them when they were still a couple?
Yes, 9. Gina
Ay,
is 9.
Yung isang anak yata nila nabuntis or nakabuntis na hindi sila kasal.
Oh my.
Tapos I just helped them process it.
The parent.
Yeah, no, the grandparents.
Yeah, the grandparents, you help them process it.
So ano yung positive sa bata? Ano yung negative? Ano yung interesting pwedeng mangyari?
Wow.
Kung hindi i-abort.
Oh my God, talaga they were considering.
Because that was kasi hindi nga kasal, hindi naman sila mayaman.
Oh my God.
Ang
Pero
positive, abortion, ang positive, nandun din, hindi mahihirapan,
but
pwede patuloy pag-aaral.
I remember they kept it
Yeah, they did.
because we passed by. Remember when we went to Isabela? I think we passed by the sun.
Yeah.
She had an
Ano?
apo and I think we delivered some.
Ayun siguro yun.
Yeah, I think that's the one. I think that's the one.
So what is interesting is always, I think it's necessary to consider because for anything to be sustainable, diba? It has to be
Yes.
interesting.
And I think it's what really connects people to the initiative. What is
Saka
interesting about it?
interesting means engagement. Eh.
Right, exactly. See that word, Rika, my baby girl, is taking an arts management course. And you know what's new now in that whole framework? Exactly that. Interesting. Stakeholder engagement. What
Without
is the
interesting,
hook? Ha?
boring.
Diba? What is the
Walang, hindi interesting, police state ang kaharap mo.
exactly? That's why it's so nice that you mentioned interesting. Because dati wala pa yan, remember? It was just
Yeah.
taught.
I got that from the same place I got the pakipak.
The interesting.
It's a little book software for your brain. I've shown it to you before when we were designing workshops.
Yeah. I long time ago. When you
Yeah.
still had that big whiteboard.
What's interesting? Because no matter how much you think about your strengths and your weaknesses, you still do what's interesting, right?
Exactly. It's not gonna hook the stakeholders. So yesterday, her teacher is also from AIM, Joey. So
Ooh.
the LaSalle teacher in arts management is from AIM.
Uh-huh.
So they also have a case study approach, and it's Filipino written. It's not a Harvard. Kasi di ba ours in AIM were all Harvard, so puro Boston Ballet, ganyan. This one is a Filipino written case. So interesting. Except that of course map doesn't exist anymore now. That certificate.
Yeah. Although I promised si teacher, what's her name? Cecil. I invited her to the workshop also. Eh.
Oh, really? She's in LaSalle now, no, Rita? Cecil
Sabi ko,
Manila. She was your speaker. Guangming. She gave a talk to Sina Rika in Guangming.
Hindi daw siya pwede, pero pwede ba daw siya access to a recording? Yeah, sure. So I'll be sending her
Nice.
the pilot workshop. You can send her this also.
Wait,
So ko lang makita na munga yung kanyang.
She was good. But I remember when you explained Bimocrapies Patriots, that made it really easy to understand. See, Professor Morato, I remember he would use animals. But
how did he?
Do you know that he died?
Yeah.
Yeah. So glad I got a selfie with him.
Because when I did the workshop for moderators of elementary school clubs.
Oh, he was there?
No, I used animals.
You used animals.
Yeah, I told the teachers, okay, choose parang tribo ng hayop.
Yeah.
What is your vision? Ano yung gusto nyo gawin buong araw? Anong trip nyo? Kumain! Sabi ng mga baboy. Yung mga manok, tumuka! Mangitlog! Mga gano'n, nakakatawa nga eh.
Yeah, that's how he explained it. Pero I understood it when you explained it.
Talaga. So I learned it not in Cecil's class. It's in your program development management.
Development management, because that program came first.
Sino ba ang nagturo? Mayo siguro. Hindi ko na maalala because it was so academic. It was so dry.
Yeah, but you got a distinction award there.
Yeah, but that was even before I actually completed my own Bimocrapies Patriots. I completed it 3 months after the deadline.
Really?
Because I found the book. Because of the book, the mind map. Yeah, so proof talaga siya na hindi pa ako expert gumamit ng mind map. Nagawa ko itong Bimocrapies.
Do you know what Cecil Manican told Tita Baby? Told my tita? Siyempre, I had a tutor. She goes to Tita Baby and Tita Vic. That Pauline was the best demographer in our batch, in her batch. She said that to my tita. So my tita called me
Demographer.
up. Yeah, my tita called me up and she goes, you know, I didn't want to ask Ceci what she was talking about because it looked like she expected me to know what it was. Kasi sila Tita Vic yun, di ba? What have you been up to? But that's a great invention.
Demographer.
Yeah. Are our students back? Is it
I don't know.
3:44?
Maybe
Hi.
Annette.
I, you know, I keep forgetting that there are 3 international students. I keep
Yeah.
thinking of you as a Filipino.
That was
That's okay.
one
It is-
Senate unit.
Yeah. Okay, we're back. Hello,
Here we
everyone.
go. What's next, ba? What's next?
So the
Brief,
next,
brief muna, brief. We're talking about strategy. Now, the external quadrants, usually you look at obstacles and threats. Threats and opportunities, okay? Things you might take advantage of and things to be wary of. But again, I think it's important to look at what's tempting, what is interesting. And it's important to speculate. What if What if? What if we set up a company? What if we ask for a loan? What if we send a memorandum of agreement to this company out of the blue? Make it so daring that they can't afford to ignore us. That sort of thing. Because now is the time to break molds, right? Because the molds are already breaking on their own. So you can add your sledgehammers to that. So look at what's around you. What do you want to take advantage of? Should you be wary of? Should you be wary of red tagging? Is there such a thing? Should be wary of extremists. And if you look at your strategy, the inside and the outside, then you can figure out the general tone or strategy of your actions. Are you gonna use your command of language, and convince the decision makers that you need $500,000 to change whatever? I don't know what you're changing.
aggressive versus conservative.
Yeah, you want to be conservative and
Okay. So
just lurk.
my question there would be, if you were Father Jong Sabuga, would you have become more aggressive, or would you have just taken the conservative approach and just keep on trying to convince the priests one by one? That's just a question to think about.
But did he actually implement it in his own? Meron, di ba?
Yes, he did, and it
So-
worked. I was making you cuento. It worked. It worked.
Did he share? Did he share his wins?
Huh? Sorry.
Did he share his wins? Did he share it with the other?
Well, what happened was the organic part of his plan really happened. They started to collect seeds from the collections during the offertory, which would be normally fruits. So what was organic really just got implemented. Now they have a lot of seedlings and they have a lot of tree planting activities because they started collecting the seeds from the fruits that was offered during Mass. So that part worked. Now it's just
Your analysis of your weaknesses, your strengths, the opportunities, and the threats, and what is interesting, these will suggest the programs that you should create. What is a program? Program is a set of strategic actions. It is the actions that were suggested by your analysis of your internal state and the external state.
Okay.
So the project in question succeeded programmatically at the first level, the pilot level. He succeeded in his own parish. What he did not succeed at was scaling it up.
So now he's trying to convince the priests slowly, and I think he's very positive about it. The response, but it's good to understand, diba? We emphasize with the priests, it's also
Yeah.
because of their training, which is why the
So
loob
maybe,
part,
yeah.
the loob part is so important. Again, we don't make enemies because we understand. I like that.
So when you have decided in your program, like for example, he wants to scale it up, no? So he will probably have a program like popularize my best practices in the parish. So what activity will be there in the program of popularization of technique or method? So programs will yield activities. Now, activity is nothing unless it is a task. Balik mo muna dun sa mas malaking program.
There.
Yeah. Activity must become a task. A task simply means somebody is assigned to do it. There's a time assigned to it. And the logistics are considered. So it becomes complete up to a budget. Not necessarily money, because you might be dealing with things that are not monetary. Like you have a program and you have pieces of plywood in the bodega. Let's just use those pieces of plywood instead of buying new plywood. So, you can do DIY things. So in Tagalog, an activity, gawain, a task is hakbang. Sino, kailan, anong kailangan. So this is like the technocratic jargon is the whole thing. You can advance the thing. Yeah. So vision, mission, objectives, key result areas, performance indicators. What's the next slide say? I think, yeah. And the programs will lead you to your activities, your tasks, and your resources. And that's probably everything you need to consider in writing a project proposal, in setting up your management systems. Look at the framework, and then overlay what you already know about your project in an orderly fashion. And look for the holes. What did I not consider? Yeah. And it's kind of impossible to think of anything that doesn't have a place in this general framework. It's really so useful.
Any responses? How will this be applicable to your mission and your vision that you have written down? What do you find useful?
Question?
Yes, Carlo.
Sir Joey, I'm confused about the difference between strategy and activity.
Strategy and activity. Okay. Activity.
For example.
Activity is, yeah. You want an example?
Okay. For example, talking to the bishops. Is that a strategy or an activity?
It's an activity.
Okay.
Maybe the strategy statement could be something like convince people in the hierarchy.
Okay.
So it's more a strategy is like more a general tone.
Okay.
So change the thinking of people in positions higher than us.
Okay.
And under your action is talk to the governor, talk to the bishop, talk to the cardinal. Those are the activities. Yeah. Okay, and then some people might say, "Oh, you talk to the cardinal. That's a good strategy." So actually, it's a good action, but your strategy is not only that. it has other similar actions, all aligned towards your vision. And the key word really is alignment. It's okay to get confused about these layers, but the objective really is to consider everything and to align everything. Because sometimes we think of things that you want to do, but might not be aligned with the vision or unnecessary. So it will take energy away from your focus. Or sometimes you find something really interesting. It's so interesting, it takes up a lot of your energy. Maybe you should change the vision to fit what is interesting. Because sometimes what is interesting is actually more important than what you logically think. It's
Can
like
we
the
have an
Wright brothers.
example?
Yeah, like you have an example
No, if you have an
Asking
example.
for an
about
example.
changing the vision. You mean according to your interest?
Yeah, for example,
For example, the Wright brothers. They were so interested in flight, but it was the stupidest thing to think about, right? Human beings, flight? Are you crazy? But they were so interested in it. Their vision was informed by their passion and interest, not by logic.
for example, Sir Joey, for my project, I came up with a very simple vision title called Eco Relationship Building Through Composting. The reason I put relationship building is because I want to make friends with my neighbors, community, parish, church. I want to get involved in the parish. I'm not involved currently in the parish. So I wrote eco, I just added the word eco instead
Okay.
of just relationship building because I'm using the method of composting.
Okay.
So I need help with
Yeah,
the
which,
vision.
given the
Uh,
two things, friendship and composting, which has more weight emotionally?
Friendship, relationship building.
That should be
Yes.
that's the emotional core of your vision. Friendship.
Okay.
Composting now is like at the bridge to friendship,
Yeah.
right? So maybe you should question it.
Ecological. Yeah, it's a
Yeah, make it bigger.
ecological activity. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And then you can frame it in such a way that the emotion of friendship will be the reason for people to join. Because
Uh,
people are so small compared to the ecology. And people obviously cannot quite grasp it, but they can grasp friendship. So when you are, and all of you already are, you are operating from an altitude that is above many other people. You have a heightened vision. You're seeing more than other people. Now you are standing on top of a mountain. You are a seer. This is the modern day. It's like you're the apostles and you're seeing such broad cosmic things, but other people don't think like that. So it's part of your work is
okay.
to bridge the unseen and the seen. So they know friendship, but they don't know ecology.
Yes.
So
Okay.
figure a way to use friendship as the hook, and ecology is like you're sneaking it in. That's
Okay.
how advertisers would do it. You know, they want to sell. Let's sell ecology. No, sell friendship. You know, fun run, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, look for the emotion.
Emotion.
Look for the
Okay.
emotion. It will drive you as well. I mean,
Yeah,
it makes
because
you.
I'm not, I have to
Yeah,
find it interesting, as you
of
said.
course. Yeah, that's a problem with the word. You know, the word sustainable.
Mhm.
Uh, it's only sustainability is only sustainable when it's interesting to whoever is doing it,
Yes.
right? Otherwise, you collapse, you burn out, you know, you last for a very short time.
So, will this framework help you all to start fine-tuning your project plans? And this is a really good discussion framework also for our mentoring sessions. Because what will follow is just a one-on-one mentoring on your projects before you finally implement. And then we see each other again for the presentation.